Yeah, so this would be a big culprit of what a lot of the problem that we've dealt with, for sure. So, yeah, the Mount Kenya Safari Club. So this came in 1976. It was formed, but it was formed by all rogue intelligence that's really basically in America, most especially, but this was Arab. Okay? So, and it was created because instead of, in my opinion, instead of, the White House and, the Republicans realizing, look, after Kennedy and MLK, you got a ton of Democrats that got into all of the CIA, got into all these agencies. And so, because and honestly, I'm saying this because when you read how the CIA was during the Cold War, I can understand why they did the things they did. They had legitimate, good, reasons for why they did what they did and to help America. But it seems like after JFK and MLK and them being all with the Kenya stuff, and you got the liberals that got totally in with Kennedy. Okay, so then instead of anybody realizing that's really where the problem is, in my opinion, is that the CIA and FBI became corrupted because the Democrat Party got a hold of it. I don't care if people don't like that; it makes the most sense. Anyway, so because of this, America had put a halt. Congress did no more with the CIA. Okay, yeah. So then that's how the Safari Club was created, and the person that owned the Safari Club was the Khashoggi family. You see, it's just like, could the Democrat-led intelligence agencies screw America anymore? That's the only thing that makes sense, because the CIA, I'm not saying they were perfect during the Cold War, but there was less problems. But you start giving it to a bunch of radical left lunatic activists, getting them into all of these different the whole world will be in crisis with you. So anyway, so because the U.S. said we're putting a halt, because the CIA has suddenly turned on the American people, yeah, because left lunatics got into it, then this Mount Kenya Safari Club was created. And again, this wasn't heads of state; these were all rogue intelligence agencies. The majority of them, they were Arab. The Safari Club, even though it was really pretty much CIA, but the founding members were pre-revolutionary Iran, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, and France. So here's the thing: they were the members, okay? And then, because all you hear every day now is how Israel, has made everybody's life miserable, and they're responsible for, everything bad in the world. I mean, if Tucker Carlson is constipated, it would be Israel's fault, or Candace Owens for that matter. Just so sick of the bullshit. I'm just saying it straight. They hate Jews. Like they want, it's simple reasoning here, okay? They call that, Palestinians are being genocided because they want us to stop supporting Israel, so that they want the Jews annihilated. Same problem going on since, God talked about it in the beginning when he created everything. But you hear all this about Mossad. So Mossad wasn't a member, but they did have contact with them. So did CIA. Well, CIA was pretty much behind this, but Mossad did, of course they would, but they brought him in like, let's all work together. Yeah, so that I not that I doubt for any minute. I mean, I would say that probably your most expert intelligence is Mossad. And I only say that because of what they deal with every day, because they have so many enemies. And then you have Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson and all these deadbeat Americans that just create even more enemies after Israel. So, but they've dealt with that their whole history, which is why I say I would imagine they're more on their toes. Not saying our CIA isn't any good. Well, it isn't, since the left got a hold of it. Anyway, the alliance was primarily an Arab and Muslim-led initiative. I would say what it became was the Muslim Brotherhood. Yeah, just did. That's my opinion. It seems obvious. Khashoggi was tied to Osama bin Laden, so tight that he cried when he was, killed. Khashoggi is tied to, and these are all, they're part of I said Saudi Arabia was not happy with Khashoggi. Saudi Arabia not happy with Osama bin Laden. But the family there, the crown, family, they were heads of state. Heads of state were not part of this. That's what you have to understand. These were rogue intelligence. Now, I can't tie Epstein at all to, this Kenya Safari Club. But again, he could have been a low-level, asset, sort of like, what Whitney Webb is for the CIA. Anyway, and so they ended up, I guess at one point in the history, with our history of Israel, we did stop giving them help. And so through this back channel, they were able to get help. But then that changed, okay? So they were all intelligence agencies. So, you can blame Mossad for everything in the world, but just remember that these were all intelligence agencies too. Iran, France, okay? And I don't think many of these people, no matter how much they acted like they were, being in good faith with Israel, would really, that would be like expecting Tucker Carlson to care about Israel, okay? I mean, those people just need to always be leery of people stabbing them in the back. I mean, even with you look at Clinton and him creating, the Oslo Accords, I mean, the only ones that have stuck with certain countries is the Arab ones, the ones Trump put in. But the other ones that did stick, like with Egypt and Israel, there was always this mistrust, and there was a lot of problems, and the other ones always fell through. So, and I would imagine that, intelligence rogue agencies going off on their own, having the Safari Club, and this stayed in place until 2007. And the person that owned this club was the mob before then. It was this Ray Ryan. Yeah, he was a celebrity, but he was tied to Chicago mob. So, in fact, that was the Chicago mob that killed him, I think, of bombing. So, I mean, it just seems like everything kind of went off the cliff once, the intelligence agencies all decided to go rogue. But more than that, once lunatic leftist activists got into them. So they didn't just get into the institutions of education and government, and you see them all through the Congress. Okay, it's the squad. They're out of their mind crazy. I mean, literally, they are. But they got into becoming that's why you get people like Comey, Brennan, sick, disturbed people. And, Khashoggi had a significant connection to Kenya because Khashoggi family owned the Safari Club. So he was the owner of the prestigious Safari Club through his company Triad, which was, the Triad International Holdings, which later became known as the Oil Pajetta Conservancy. So now the Whitney Webbs, although I don't listen to everything she says, will tie because, this was tied to Saudi Arabia, that means the heads of state are tied to it. They're not. This was created with no heads of state. This was rogue intelligence that said, we know best, but when you have leftists controlling it, you can know it'll just be a disaster. It's why the world's gone downhill since then. I'm just saying it has, okay? Part of the problem is don't be, bringing Kenya students here when we have black people that are Americans that, don't be traitorous that way, okay? Make all the excuse MLK, JFK want to make, but look, they were serving the lunatic left as far as I'm concerned. But because then the intelligence agencies turned on us after that, no wonder, then this got all created because the Congress and the presidency under Nixon said no more CIA, because they were eavesdropping and doing all sorts of stuff with Americans. Well, of course they would. The leftists were running it, and they let these terrorists into everything. So yeah, That's pretty much the gist of it.